Hey friends, I hope you're all doing splendid today. Thanks for stopping by for another video. But today's video I'm going to be doing the 20 questions tag, which I was tagged by Scientist Reading Room. Great booktuber, definitely go check them out. Like I mentioned, I was tagged by Scientist Reading Room and 20 questions. Without further ado, I'm going to hop right in with question number one. Question number one is how many books are too many books in a book series? I'm going to have to go with more than 10, and that's very rare among kind of series that I've seen, except for like the Wheel of Time and the kind of, is it the books of like the Malazan of the Fallen or something like that, Fallen of Malazan. Those are the only ones I found that are more than 10 books. But yeah, I just feel like once it gets that long, like unless I'm really invested and I really like everything that's going on, I feel like that's a bit much. But I really like kind of like 3 or 2 duologies. Those are really good. Like you get a little bit and then it kind of builds up a little bit and then a finale. But 10 books, that's a lot. Question number two is how do you feel about cliffhangers? This is kind of a love and hate relationship. I kind of enjoy being left off, kind of questioning where to go. But unless that next book is already out and I don't have to wait to pick it up, like I hate cliffhangers because then I have to wait until the next book releases, or maybe they're not going to release another book. So unless it's already out, like I'm going to be pretty mad about them. But I do enjoy kind of being like sitting there kind of waiting, like, or kind of questioning like what's going to happen. But yeah, it's a very love-hate relationship. Question number three is hard copy or paperback. If it's kind of like a big fantasy book, I really want to go with a paperback because they're just easier to handle than a hard copy. But if I'm kind of building up my collection, I really like hardcovers. I don't know why or what it is about it, but they kind of just like stand out to me on my bookshelf, and they just feel like they're gonna last a lifetime for when I'm an old man and my grandchildren hopefully kind of come and read these books. They'll still be kind of around and be able to kind of read through. So yeah, definitely it's very hard to kind of tell. Question number four is favorite book. I mean, this is hard to tell because last year I really got back into reading, so I can't really remember all those books that I read kind of growing up, besides kind of like 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea or the Percy Jackson series. It's probably one of my favorite books and book series in general. It really kind of showed my love for and kind of introduced me to reading. But recently this year, I'm gonna have to give it to either Uprooted. Really enjoyed that kind of folktale retelling. The Final Empire, just the Mistborn trilogy in general. That was kind of my introduction into adult fantasy, and it has inspired me to pick up a lot more fantasy in general, adult fantasy, because that one was just great. And there's just so many more. The Starless Sea was really good. Piranesi. I mean, this is like trying to pick a favorite book is like asking your parents like who's the favorite child. Like you kind of know deep down who it is, but they won't tell you. Yeah, it's a hard question to kind of answer. Question number five is least favorite book. I'm gonna have to give that to In a Dark Wood by Ruth Ware. That was terrible. Or no, I just recently read, what is it, Runes, I believe, and that was even worse. Like I was expecting so much more about that, but I'll go more in depth with kind of my thoughts in my wrap up. But that was really disappointing to me. And In a Dark Wood, since I liked some of other Ruth Ware's books, I really was hoping that I would enjoy it. But it had like a perfect setting that I was kind of looking for. The woods, being trapped in the woods, kind of friends kind of reuniting. But it was terrible. I absolutely hated it. And it's hard for me to talk crap about books because it's just like I just can't do it. It's not in my like physical characteristics. Question number six is love triangles, yes or no? Yes or no? It's hard to choose. I do enjoy them kind of in stories, but like I just can't go in like explain like my reasoning. Like in some of them, I'll enjoy it and I'll like kind of, it's hard to choose like who you want to go together and stuff like that. But in some books, like I absolutely hate it, and I'm just kind of split between whether I enjoy it or not, I would probably say that I do enjoy them for some reason. I don't like that conflict. I don't know if that's the reason, but that's not a good thing. So it's like I can't even choose. Like it's a split decision. Yes, no. I can't choose. Question number 7 is the most recent book you couldn't finish. That is Elevator Pitch. I picked up the audiobook and everything about it was, I wasn't vibing with anything. It just was terrible in my opinion. The way it was kind of set up, and yeah, like the kind of narrators were not very good, or the narrator was not very good, and just the way that kind of it was working out and the writing style, I wasn't on board with anything. So I only got like maybe a couple chapters in and I was like, yeah, I'm done. And that has been my first DNF in quite some time. But I'm kind of glad that I didn't, because that way I didn't kind of go into a reading slump and just picked up something that I really wanted to enjoy. Question number 8 is a book you are currently reading, and I'm currently reading A Crown of Feathers by Nikki Paul Preda, and I am loving it. I love kind of training academies and kind of like a character driven. It's hard to tell between like character driven and plot driven, but I really enjoy kind of this journey that Veronica is kind of embarking on. It's following 3 different perspectives, and the way it's kind of playing out, I'm really enjoying it. And it's a big book, and I'm flying through it, and I'm loving my time with it. But I feel like a lot of people have already checked it out, and I really want to kind of binge the series, because the 3rd book, I don't know if it's already out or if it's coming out soon, but that way I don't have to wait, and I can just bam, bam, bam right after one another. Question number 9 is the last book you recommended to someone. For that, I recommended Uprooted to one of my friends. She said she was looking for kind of like something like a fairy tale or folk tale. And since I absolutely loved Uprooted and I enjoy kind of Naomi Novik's works, she said she was kind of looking for something that was kind of not really talked about, like Cinderella or kind of Beauty and the Beast. Those are all kind of ones she's already checked out, but I recommended this one because it's following fairy tale or folk tale that isn't really kind of touched on. So that's the last book I recommended. Question number 10 is the oldest book you've read by publication date. I absolutely have no idea, because I don't track like the books I have to read for history on my Goodreads, so it's hard to tell, but I think probably The Odyssey by Homer is probably the oldest that I've read. And yeah, I think that is, yeah. Or maybe I've kind of been checking out more into like the Sumerians and kind of the Epic of Gilgamesh and all those, and I believe, yeah, those are prior to the kind of Homer's works, so no idea. Question number 11 is the newest book you've read by publication date. That was Project Hail Mary. That was absolutely outstanding. It was a new release that I was really looking forward to. Andy Weir's always kind of got books that I'm really interested in, and I did a book chat on it because I loved it that much, so definitely go check that out. But that was the newest book I've read. Some new ones that I really want to check out soon are Half Sick of Shadows or The Maidens. I've heard great things about that already, and both those I already have copies of, so I'll be diving into those very soon. Question number 12 is your favorite author. What does it do with all these questions about favorites? Like I mentioned, it's like choosing your favorite child. Like who you gonna say? But I probably would say either Rick Riordan, Brandon Sanderson currently, even though I've only read the Mistborn trilogy, the initial Mistborn trilogy, or Naomi Novik. It's just like, it's hard because there's so many other authors that I really want to get to, and I've kind of started off with and enjoyed their works. But those 3 are probably the mains right now, because Rick Riordan, like I mentioned, I read when I was really young. Brandon Sanderson was my introduction into adult fantasy, and kind of Naomi Novik kind of inspired me to pick up more fairy tales and folk tales, and kind of just mesmerized me with her just spins and takes on these stories. Question number 13 is buying books or borrowing books? I have a problem with buying books. I wanted to say that right now. I need to stop buying so many books because I am just addicted to books and buying them. But recently I've been getting better about kind of utilizing my library and checking out books there. But yeah, I would say for the majority right now I've been buying books, which isn't good because I don't have the money to buy books, especially with school tuition and rent. No. Question number 14 is a book you dislike that everyone seems to love. I can't think of anything, but I think the one thing kind of coming to my mind is Winter's Orbit. But I haven't really heard much about it because it was a debut novel and it just recently came out. And I really want to just go back and reread it because I honestly think I read it at the wrong time. I was going through a lot of stress with uni and classes and everything going on with work. So I feel like I disliked it because of those reasons, but that was the only book that I could think of. Question number 15 is bookmarks or dog ears? Bookmarks for sure. There's something about it with like books having like little torn pages or kind of folded pages that just kind of like my OCD is like, no, that cannot happen. We cannot have books torn and everything. So I have several bookmarks, and yeah, it's like a sin for me to like see books just like folded over. I go crazy over it. Question number 16 is a book you can always reread. Just the whole Percy Jackson series in general. I loved that series. I read those when I was really young. Like I probably talked about this series so much just on my channel and in this video so much. But they introduced me to mythology and kind of a little bit of fantasy and just the humor and kind of imagination that I got from them. Just like I will keep in my memories for like the rest of my life. Or 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. That was one of the classics that I really checked out when I was really, really young because there was only certain books available at my very small library. So I always picked that up, and that kind of inspired my love for adventure and kind of just imagination just sparked from that as well. But those are probably books that I can always reread in the future. Question number 17 is, can you read while hearing music? For sure. There's something about kind of like just putting on some like chill acoustic or classical music and just sitting there in a book. Like there's just something about it. I don't know what it is, but it just sparks me to read more. Like I just get motivated by just hearing kind of Bach or someone just like playing a little violin or something. It just like awakens my reading kind of monster inside of me. That was kind of weird to go off of, but yeah, definitely I can vibe with some classical music or chill kind of ambient music, anything. If you have any great recommendations, kind of like playlists or anything on Spotify, please let me know because I'm always looking for kind of more things to check out. Question number 18 is one POV or multiple POVs? I'm going to have to go with multiple POVs. I always like getting kind of different viewpoints on the story and kind of going through the thoughts of different characters and kind of seeing what they kind of think about everything that's going on. And it just makes it more kind of like atmospheric and kind of takes you into the story essentially. So I always like when it's got to have at least two in my opinion, and I think a max would probably be like maybe 5 or 6 because then that just gets like a ton to kind of keep track of. But I can't think of any kind of books that kind of take that many perspectives into account. Question number 19 is, do you read a book in one sitting or over multiple days? If it is really good and I'll have the time, like I will sit there and read it until I'm finished. But sadly, like with school and work and everything going on, like I have to kind of spread it out over days. But there have been times where I've had nothing on my plate and I've just sat or kind of hung out all day with a book until I'm done with it. And the final question number 20 is, who do you tag? And I'm going to have to give it to Harriet's Book Corner, Attention, and Raoul Reads. I don't know if they've done these or not, but if they haven't, I hope they give it a try, have some fun. I want to learn more about their kind of reading journeys and experience, but that's all for today's video. I hope you really enjoyed it, and I hope you all have a splendid day. But with everything going on, I want to leave you with a message from Ellie, who said that adventure is out there. So I'll catch you next time. Bye.